Starting off, I want to thank you all so much for being here. It is so refreshing to just be open and honest and like chill. Doing this podcast has been a lot of fun because what it does for me is it gives me an opportunity to not feel like I'm overproducing. This podcast is really simple. I got a mic, I got a camera, I got my drink, this mug, by the way, Song Theory mug. It's in the link below. Get yourself a Song Theory mug. Let's jump right into it. The subject of Kanye West. So a lot of you may not know this, but Kanye West recently penned an open letter to the Wall Street Journal. Actually, he paid for an entire portion of the Wall Street Journal where he apologized effectively for his past behavior. He apologized for all of it. And we're going to read that letter today, by the way, so you guys can be a part of what's going on and understand and have more context, right? And from this open letter, people are beginning to speculate that he may not be apologizing to me or you, but in fact, he's actually apologizing to the elites. He's apologizing to the shadowy government. He's apologizing to those that hold the future of his career in his hands. And if he didn't apologize now, perhaps he would have lost everything. So let's go over the letter real quick. Let's just read it. Let's read it. I want to be able to engage with this with you guys so that you guys know what's going on. There's so many people that didn't even know this letter existed. So it's important that we get an opportunity to read it all right here today. Okay. And one more time, thank you all so much for subscribing to the Patreon. It's only $5 a month. That's it. And you guys are now locked in. You guys are official conspiracy theorists for Song Theory. We are in the community together. So you guys are going to get exclusive access to live Q&As. You guys are going to get exclusive access to merch. And you guys have a whole catalog of song theories that I've made in the past that you can enjoy. And obviously, you guys can ask me questions. You guys can engage with me and all that stuff. It's going to be lots of fun. So Patreon is so much fun because I can do whatever I want. Okay, it's so great, and I don't have to worry about those rules and regulations from every other app. We're here together. We're doing it, okay? So, all right, let's read this letter so you guys understand what's going on from Kanye West, or Ye, which is his official name. His official name is Ye, okay? So, this letter is called To Those I've Hurt by Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. Very nice. 25 years ago, I was in a car accident that broke my jaw and caused injuries to the right frontal lobe of my brain. At the time, the focus was on the visible damage, the fracture, the swelling, and the immediate physical trauma, the deeper injury that one inside my skull went unnoticed. Comprehensive scans were not done, neurological exams were limited, and the possibility of a frontal lobe injury was never raised. It wasn't properly diagnosed until 2023. The medical oversight caused serious damage to my mental health and led to my bipolar type 1 diagnosis. Bipolar disorder comes with its own defense system. Denial. When you're manic, you don't think you're sick. You think everyone else is overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world more clearly than ever, when in reality, you're losing your grip entirely. Once people label you as crazy, you feel as if you cannot contribute anything meaningful to the world. It's easy for people to joke and laugh it off when, in fact, this is very serious, debilitating disease you can die from. According to the World Health Organization and Cambridge University, people with bipolar disorder have a life expectancy that is shortened by 10 to 15 years on average, and a 2 to 3x higher all-cause mortality rate than the general population. This is on par with severe heart disease, type 1 diabetes, HIV, and cancer, all lethal and fatal if left untreated. So far, he's just going through the diagnosis. He's explaining to us his car accident so many years ago caused his brain to be damaged, and it wasn't until recently that he got a proper diagnosis, and because of that, he's been acting a little out there. Got it. Let's keep reading. The scariest thing about the disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. It makes you blind, but convinced you have insight. You feel powerful, certain, and unstoppable. This reads like AI. I can't really explain it It really does read like AI. I'm just now kind of realizing it. I lost touch with reality. Things got worse the longer I ignored the problem. I said and did things I deeply regret. Some of the people I love the most, I treated the worst. You endured fear, confusion, humiliation, and the exhaustion of trying to love someone who was at times unrecognizable. Looking back, I became detached from my true self. Interesting. That almost read like an apology to his family and friends, but it kind of, at some point, it just kind of veered off a bit, which is, it is what it is. We're halfway there. Oh, no, we're like a quarter of the way there. Okay. In that fractured state, I gravitated toward the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t-shirts bearing it. One of the difficult aspects of having bipolar type 1 are the disconnected moments, many of which I still cannot recall, that led to poor judgment and reckless behavior that oftentimes feels like an out-of-body experience. I regret and I am deeply mortified by my actions in that state and am committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though. I am not a Nazi or an anti-Semite. I love Jewish people. Very important. We didn't get a I love my family. We definitely got a I love Jewish people. I found that interesting about this note. Like, at no point was he like, I love my family and my daughter and, to the mother of my children. But he definitely threw in the I love Jewish people. I find that interesting. To the Black community, which held me down through all of the highs and lows in the darkest of times, the Black community is unquestionably the foundation of who I am. I am sorry to have let you down. I love us. Now, that was a nice apology. So we got a I love Jewish people. We got a I am so sorry to the Black community. I let you down. But we didn't get a I love my family. I find that to be poignant. We'll come back to that in a second. In early 2025, I fell into a 4-month-long manic episode of psychotic, paranoid, and impulsive behavior that destroyed my life. As the situation became increasingly unsustainable, there were times I didn't want to be here anymore. Okay, now we're getting to the suicidal ideation. Having bipolar disorder is not a state of constant mental illness. When you go into manic episode, you are ill at that point. When you are not in that episode, you are completely, quote unquote, normal. And that's when the wreckage from the illness hits the hardest. Hitting rock bottom a few months ago, my wife encouraged me to finally get help. His current wife, I suppose, obviously not Kim Kardashian. They're not married anymore. I found comfort in Reddit forums of all places. Different people speak of being in manic and depressive episodes of a similar nature. I read their stories and realized I was not alone. It's not just me who ruins their entire life once a year, despite taking meds every day and being told by my so-called best doctors in the world that I am not bipolar, but merely experiencing symptoms of autism. Interesting. Okay, so has he been formally diagnosed with autism? That is, okay. My words as a leader in my community are have a real global impact and influence. In my mania, I lost complete sight of that. Okay, word. As I find my new baseline and new center through an effective regime of regimen of medication, therapy, exercise, and clean living, I have newfound much needed clarity. I am pouring my energy into positive, meaningful art, music, clothing, design, and other new ideas to help the world. I am not asking for sympathy or free pass, though I aspire to earn your forgiveness. I write today simply to ask for your patience and understanding as I find my way home. With love, yay. So that's the open letter. Look, I am not totally against the open letter. I respect him for, if this is him at all, which is part of the theory that we'll get into. I respect him for coming out, making that letter and all those things and just taking accountability for what it is, for what it looks like, accountability. The theory and the conspiracy theories start to seep in from the edges a little bit, okay? First of all, some people, including myself, read that like AI a little bit like AI, okay? And the reason why that's significant is because we question whether or not Kanye wrote that. Did Kanye actually write that? Did Kanye actually send that in? Was that Kanye that made that apology? Okay, people question that. Also, what people question is the motive behind the apology itself, right? Is this Kanye being sincere? Well, you're supposed to take things at face value. That's what we're told, I guess. But a lot of people feel like this is disingenuous only because Kanye West in the past has spoken against the elites, right? The industry. He's spoken against so many people. And specifically the 13 bloodlines, right? We're going to talk about 13 bloodlines because people don't know what that is. So the 13 bloodlines is really there's a theory that the elites, there's a 13 bloodlines of families that are connected to these bloodlines that are the ones ruling over the world politically, financially, socially, and all that, right? Some believe that he actually placed this ad in the Wall Street Journal because the Wall Street Journal is owned by one of the families that are part of the bloodline. So his intention was to write this open letter in the Wall Street Journal as a way to speak directly to the elites in this manner, because more than likely, some conspiracy theorists believe that he lost contact and the ability to connect with the elites through many channels, many lower ranking people that he probably lost contact with because of his behavior. So putting this in the Wall Street Journal was probably a clever way of him getting back in contact with these individuals so that he's able to show them that he is very sorry. That is the part that people start getting stuck on. It's the Kanye West apologizing, not to us, right? It doesn't feel like he was apologizing to us. It felt like he was apologizing to them, to they, to those that are above, those that are unseen, those that hide their hand, right? We don't know who he's really apologizing to fully, right? Of course, he gave us the I love Jewish people speech. You know, you got to give the I love Jewish people. If you don't say I love Jewish people, you're going to get in trouble. Okay, you got to say you got to love two people. There's two people you got to love if you're famous. You got to love Jewish people and you got to love black people. If you don't love Jewish people, black people, you're automatically you're done. You're done for. Okay, there are no two other people you have to love in order to be successful. But like, you got to love black people and you got to love Jewish people. Other than that, you can forget about it. Okay. And so from there, you understand that this is, people find it odd that Kanye West would write something like this. Never has he written something like this in the history of his career. Okay. Doing it in this way is odd because the writing doesn't sound like him. All right. Now that could be the fault of his bipolar. Maybe you write differently when you're manic or when you're calm or when, I don't know. But there are people that speculate that this was not from him. It's that simple. They speculate it's not from him and that he is trying to appease the ones that control his future, that control the structure of all of his opportunities, that control where he goes, what he does. I mean, he lost millions of fucking dollars because he said the wrong thing at the wrong time. Saying that you're a Nazi and that you love Hitler, big no-no, dog. Big no-no. You can't say that. You cannot say that. Saying things like black people chose to be slaves, you just can't say that. All right? And so, yes, he lost a lot of access and opportunities because he said some wild shit. And so here we are, right? We're in this place now where he says, if this is him at all, that I want to apologize for my past behavior. I'm a good boy now. I'm such a good boy. Please give me all my treats. And I want to be in the house again, right? He doesn't want to be outside. He wants to be in the house. He wants to be in the place where all the good stuff is happening. And he thinks that this letter is going to help. Now, will it help? I don't know. I've never seen someone write a letter like this in the Wall Street Journal apologizing to what we think is the world or possibly these elites. I don't really know how it's going to turn out for him. I would believe that his fans are always going to be 100% down and appreciative and loving him no matter what. I mean, no one can convince me otherwise. His fans are not going to feel any two ways about it. They loved him from the beginning. We always knew he'd come back around. We love Kanye. Kanye's the best. Kanye for president 2028. They're always going to find a way to love Kanye and believe that he's the best. You're never going to convince a Kanye West fan to stop being a fan of Kanye West. You know, I would prefer you try to mop the entire Atlantic Ocean before you try to convince a Kanye West fan to stop being a Kanye West fan. I would actually suggest that you do your own open heart surgery. By the time you are successful in completing the open heart surgery, a Kanye West fan will stop being a Kanye West fan. Climb Mount Everest with no gear. By the time you get up there, maybe they'll stop being fans of Kanye West. Do you get what I'm saying? I think you understand what I'm saying. That's the point. You're never going to make a Kanye West fan stop being a fan of Kanye West. So I don't think any of them are going to hate him for the apology. I think this actually is going to bolster their support for Kanye. All right. Who else will it convince? I don't know. That remains to be seen. So we'll have to find out sooner than later. But there's another subject that I want to talk about, really, and it's his daughter, North West. So a lot of you may be familiar that Kanye West is a producer, very talented producer and rapper and writer and lyricist. And apparently his daughter caught the producer bug, right? His daughter is now getting into producing music, and some people think it's good. Some people think it's not. Whatever. Doesn't matter. What does matter is what is the music industry going to do with North West? You have to imagine that North West, being a product of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, is going to be a very valuable asset to the music industry, right? This child had clout and fame before she was born. Being a baby bump, people were already excited for the birth of this child, okay? Once this child came out and they named her North West, oh, it was over with. The fans loved her. Okay. She got a little attitude. She be eating onions raw without like cutting it up first and cooking it. She eats onions like she eats apples. It's very interesting. It's very strange. She talks back to her mom, and she's a girl with attitude, and she absolutely loves her dad. She is in love with her father. She dressed up like him for Halloween. She just be doing all types of stuff to get his attention and his love. And the fans see it and they love it. But conspiracy theorists like myself believe that the music industry might end up using his daughter against him. See, that's where things start getting sad, right? As a way to convince Kanye West to do whatever they want, their bidding, right? We don't know what their bidding is. But to convince Kanye West to do whatever they want, they're probably going to use North West as a bargaining chip. I can see that happening pretty easily, right? You convince Kanye West by convincing him to do, you convince him to do whatever you want him to do, bend to your will by using his daughter. We'll make her the next big thing. We'll bolster her. We'll prop her up. Okay. We'll have her on tour by the time she's 16. Those are things that Kanye West, I guarantee, does not want. Number one, he's very familiar with the music industry. He has spoken out against it dozens and dozens and dozens of times over the last 30 years. Every interview that he did was almost about how much he hated the industry. Okay. You're talking about a man who is willing to say, yo, fuck George Bush. I hate him. He hates black people. So quite clearly, this guy is really serious about not letting his daughter be a part of the music industry. But what if she's already on her way? What is Kanye going to do? What is Kanye willing to give up to make sure that she does not end up in the same position as him or any other young female artist? Because by the way, guys, let's not act like female artists are not the most abused demographic in the music industry, because they absolutely are. And black female artists are the most abused people in the industry, period. Okay. And as it stands, North West would be considered a black female artist. Okay. She's mixed. Yes, but she would be considered black. A lot of abuse, a lot of issues can come about with her being in there. And I think Kanye West I think he absolutely wants to do everything he can in his power to avoid that. So is this apology part of that? Is this whole thing that he's going through part of trying to avoid his daughter being inducted into this fold of individuals who want to abuse her and use her talent and take away her agency? I don't know. He might be doing all this to swoop in to save her. There's no telling. And that's the thing, man. There's no telling what direction I'll go in. When it comes to kids, we already know so many artists. I mean, Miley Cyrus, Aaron Carter, Justin Bieber, Chris Brown. I mean, there are so many very famous people that have experienced so much abuse as they were younger in the industry and grew up. Okay. We talk about that all the time. I actually want to do a whole podcast episode on just child star music industry people and what happened to them and what ended up being of them, right? Becoming of them, and how much abuse they experienced allegedly and actually. Okay. And I think Kanye West wants to avoid that when it comes to his daughter, Northwest. But now, this is the part of the podcast where we do our Q&A session. Yeah. I need to create like an intro slate for Q&A session. I might do that actually. Q&A session where I take messages from people across my social medias, and they send me a lot of messages all the time. So it's no shortage of them. And we're going to read them today and answer them if it's possible. Okay. So this one first comes from a woman named Honey. She said, I was just watching the Rihanna Umbrella video and it made me think that because, it starts off earlier. It says, not too long ago, I was talking about how every year there's a certain ad lib or something that they use almost every song that checks out. And this is regarding the Rain Man conspiracy theory. And she's talking about how a lot of people would say the words Rain Man or refer to the Rain Man in their songs. Okay. There's a deeper theory behind that. We'll get into it. She said, I was just watching the Rihanna Umbrella video and it made me think of that because around that same time, Lil Wayne came out with the Rain Man song. So the Rain Man conspiracy theory is there is an entity called the Rain Man that if you call upon him or reference him in music, it is a way to worship the Rain Man. And the Rain Man is known to be a deity that grants you power, wishes, fame, fortune, and opportunities. Okay. So the theory goes that anybody that refers to the Rain Man, calls out to him, compliments him, anything like that in a song, then they are going to be in line for that benefit, or rather, they are closer to summoning the Rain Man and getting what they want from whatever deal they're looking for. Okay. So obviously Umbrella, again, Rain Man, referencing Rain Man a bunch. And she's basically saying that Lil Wayne also does the same thing in many other songs. Guys, I'm going to go down a list of how many songs reference the Rain Man. Are you ready? Rain Man references in music. Listen to this. This is a long list. Okay. Here we go. I'm not going to go through the whole list because it's that long. Eminem song Rain Man 2004, Jay-Z Rihanna Umbrella refers to Jay-Z as the Rain Man, and other conspiracy theories regarding that particular demon. In the context, rap and hip hop, many artists use the phrase to describe being calculated or making it rain, including the game We Make It Rain, like Rain Man. Lil Wayne and T.I. also did the same thing. Rock, and other genres. The Doors, You Know the Rain Man's Coming to Town, and Bob Dylan, Now the Rain Man Gave Me Two Cures, have used the phrase, though not directly referencing the film The Rain Man that was with two actors, very famous. But none of this is about that film. It is, the conspiracy is that all of that is about the demon, the deity, the opportunity giver, the wish granter, the Rain Man. So, to answer the question for Honey, yes, more than likely, that is what it is. There are so many different entities, and I mean, I could go down the list of different demons and entities and deities and spirits and stuff that are relative and associated with the music industry, in every industry really. There's actually there's an entity that actors use to tap into their own that they summon when they want to get into a role, and they use this split personality in order to accomplish that. There's this whole thing over that. Maybe I might go over it one day. But for this particular question, honey, if you're watching, the answer is yes. Okay. More than likely, the Rain Man, especially back in the early 2000s, was referenced a lot. But it wasn't just the early 2000s. So many people across the ages and genres have referenced the Rain Man a ton of times. And so, not a lot of people believe in the deity itself, but they do believe that, the music industry will give like little tasks, sing about this, talk about that. So some believe that the artists themselves were not aware of the deity. They were not aware that they were energizing any type of worship toward a demon or summoning them, but that instead the elites that called upon the executives, that called upon the agents to tell them what to sing, to tell them what to say, that's who orchestrated the entire thing. The elites were connected to the Rain Man. They were the ones that called upon the artists to make the song. And that's what happened. Are the artists specifically aware that this is what it's about? Probably not. But the people that told them to write the songs, they're probably the ones that were associated with the actual deity itself. That's the theory. Allegedly. There you go. All right. Next question we have from Kamaka. Hi, I rarely reach out to anyone other than actual friends, but your channel is great. Thank you. I grew up in the occult, and my entire family is world famous sound healers. Okay. I can clarify a lot of things the public has no clue about in general, like can tell what conspiracies are real and what is not. The devil's tone in the Buddhist chord for clearing demonic energies. It's like burning sage, but for music. That is extremely interesting. And I'm probably going to reach out to this person because that is really cool. And I want to know more about that. But this wasn't more of a question. There was a statement, but I will create a question from this that some people might be wondering. Are there frequencies that can invoke and cast out different negative energies, whether it be demons, demonic energy, negative frequencies, and all? Yes, the answer is yes. There are many people who theorize that there are certain frequencies. I know you guys have heard of the 432 frequency. I know you guys have heard of the 720 frequency. There's so many frequencies that are involved in sound healing and the soul and the body, the chakras, and the way that every frequency interacts with different parts of your body due to the density of your bones and muscles in that particular area. It's a whole thing. But the answer is yes. There are ways that you can use sound, right? Actually, this is a great example. If you guys watched any alien movie, you know that high-pitched noises tend to disrupt the aliens' brain waves, right? And those movies are just a way to show you how certain frequencies can disrupt your brain, your heart, your body, your energy. And this stuff is true. I mean, I definitely want to learn more about sound healing and burning sage, but not burning sage through actual sage, but through music instead. That's like super interesting, and I want to learn more. So thank you for that, Kamaka. I am probably going to message you, and we're going to talk more. If you're here, great. Thank you for the question, and let's move on to the last one. This one is from a James Ruiz Reyes. He says, "Good day, Mr. Song Theory. Thank you so much for this content of yours because it reveals the music industry in general." Thank you, James. I have a question though, and I hope it will not. It will be noticed. It is being noticed. Thank you so much. Do you think that the music of Enya, who I believe is a Irish artist, also evokes some type of way, like sort of mysticism or something. I highly appreciate your response to this. Thank you so much. So I listened to Enya before, and she does have a lot of music that sounds mystical and magical and ethereal, right? Actually, if you're familiar with The Lord of the Rings, you would actually be familiar with her voice. She sang some of the music from The Lord of the Rings, and her voice sounds like magic. A lot of people, if you go to the comment section of her videos, of her songs, of anything that Enya has made, Enya, people will tell you it sounds like some mystical creature is coming out of her throat and speaking directly to us. A siren, if you will, right? Off the coast of oceans that lure men into their deaths. I have not, I mean, this is the only artist I've ever seen comments truly baffled at the quality and tone of her voice that people are calling it magic. She probably, guys, she just sings really well. Okay. She's just a really good singer. But some do believe it's magic. Like, it's magical. There are some people that sing or play instruments or whatever that gives this, like, it's impossible to look at it like it's not magic, right? A great example, if you believe in the Bible, David played the lyre, I believe, and he played it for King Saul. And he was so good at it that Saul would call him into his chambers, and David would play it to help him go to sleep, because Saul was so vexed all the time that he needed some soothing. And David was so good as a musician that that's what he was able to do. And that's what the movie Sinners was a lot about. And oh boy, I cannot wait to do my podcast episode on the Sinners. Oh my God. That episode is going to be a lot of fun. But long story short, yes, absolutely. You can indeed listen to her voice and assess that it sounds magical. And it does. I listened to it. Her voice is great. The best way I could describe her voice is like a siren. Like I said earlier, it just sounds like she could lure you off the coast of any given area, and you could be firmly in your napping quarters on the boat and hear the lull and the sound and tone of her voice. Wake up in the middle of the night, walk out to the bow of the ship. You know, the waters, the only thing you can see is the moonlight, but you hear the waves and the singing, and you turn the ship in that direction and you swim out to find it, and they kill you. That's the best way I can describe it. Anyway, Q&A over. Thank you guys so much for Q&A. If you want to actually ask me direct questions, you don't want to go through the DMs and all that stuff, it's fine. Actually, you can email me at songtheory1@gmail.com. SONGTHEORY 1, the number 1, @gmail.com. Message me on there and I will get back to you. And yeah, that's it. I mean, I'll be able to talk to you and answer your questions on here. And yeah, that's what I'm here for. So let's go on to the last bit of the podcast here. And we're going to talk about a rebrand. One of the greatest rebrands in hip hop history that I don't think a lot of people talk about. This rebrand is important to me because it shows you the power of redirection, the power of pivoting. And it is Comethazine, a man who went by the stage name of Comethazine, but he actually goes by another name now. I believe he goes by Frank now as an artist, and he has been playing the trumpet, the saxophone, the guitar. I mean, this guy has been doing a lot of cool stuff with his music. So he no longer goes by the name Comethazine. He actually goes by the name Frank Cole, which I believe is his real name, is Frank Cole. But like before, he used to go by Comethazine. And one of the songs that he used to do, oh my God, it was crazy because it was like the early 2010s, mid 2010s. And, you know, he was talking about guns and murder and drugs, you know, the typical stuff that a lot of young rappers would talk about back then. But then I don't remember when the shift happened. Like, I can't think of exactly when the shift happened, but like there was a certain point where like he just stopped rapping and he was just playing the trumpet, and he's so good at it. Oh my God. And, you know, he's now a jazz musician by the name of Frank Cole. And there's a whole story here that I can kind of read off of. Comethazine has been known since 2018 as a trap artist with menacing beats and vicious lyrics, releasing thumping hits like Walk, becoming one of the defining voices of the bubbling SoundCloud era. And it was a good song. I actually enjoyed the song. But after 2022, so that's around the time it happened. After 2022, something changed. He retired the Comethazine moniker and reemerged in 2025, just recently, literally, as Frank Cole, a serious jazz musician. It became one of the most unexpected artistic pivots in recent music history, honestly, ever in the history of hip hop. That's crazy. In his new A Few Words interview on YouTube, styled like a European music documentary, Cole explained that he had essentially outgrown his previous music, and the interviewer compared his evolution to the way members of Odd Future changed over the years. But this was way more dramatic than whatever Odd Future did. He said in the quote, "I don't know when it started. It was just timing." Recently, Frank released a new single, Autumn Leaves, which I definitely want to listen to, where he plays his 1922 Conn trumpet. He's also preparing to release his Electric Mazeland project, where he even sparks in German. He speaks in German. Super talented guy. Frank revealed he has always been a fan of this type of music. He grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois, Miles Davis' hometown, kept a Miles Davis album on his wall, and listened to Fela Kuti in the mornings. So he's a he's a real musician. Hold up. That's a deep cut. Only real musicians know about these folks. Okay. Apart from the trumpet, Frank also plays guitar and has been recording in Brentford, England. And that's the story. And I think what I love about this is so many young black people don't believe or understand that they can make pivots outside of hip hop. Like, you don't have to, it doesn't always have to be hip hop or rap. You could be an artist that plays guitar or sings or, you know, plays harmonica. Like, there's so many instruments that young black kids don't even know they can play. Right. And that's why I am such an advocate for, you know, programs in music programs. I'm such a huge advocate for children having access to instruments and being able to create clubs and opportunities for schools to bring in those things, especially for lower income areas where these children otherwise would have never touched a violin or a trumpet or a saxophone or a guitar. So I'm super interested in doing that kind of thing because this shows you that young artists who otherwise were rappers, you know, he had made enough money to have access to these instruments, right? But there's so many young people right now who are in whatever situation they're in, and they don't have the opportunity or the resources to touch anything other than a condenser mic and you know, a little audio interface that they can rap on and make beats on. You know, the thing about making beats and the thing about rapping is that all you need is your voice and, I mean, shoot, a cell phone, honestly, right? That you can do GarageBand on or anything like that. The thing about becoming a musician is that you have to have access to the musical instrument to become the musician. And so a lot of black and brown kids don't get the opportunity to become musicians because they don't have the access to the musical instruments. And it's sad and it sucks. And so I would love to work more and hopefully as time goes on and I build this platform on Patreon and more people come and watch my podcast and engage with the content and, you know, do all that, I can actually afford to pay into these programs and donate to these programs and help these kids to you know, have a future that they might not have envisioned without touching or being exposed to these different instruments. And so I love the story of Comethazine. I think it is incredible. And I'm so happy that someone like him was able to pivot, because it does show other people around the world, other people in similar scenarios, that they have the opportunity to pivot just like him. And that is so cool. I think it's incredible. And I love that. Okay. And honestly, guys, that's the end of the podcast episode. You know, I think that final word is I appreciate all of you. Patreon has been doing amazing. Just making the content has been fun for me. That's the thing people don't get. There could be literally no one watching this podcast, but I'm having fun making it, right? And I want to do more, but the support from you guys gives me the opportunity to do that. So for just $5 a month, you guys are increasing my value in what I do in my content, and I appreciate that 10 million times. Like, you guys don't get it. It's worth it. It's so worth it, and it's wonderful that you guys are helping me with this stuff, and I appreciate it. So again, one day I hope to invest in these musical programs, and maybe with the funds that I get that from you guys helping me and building this platform and being part of the community, I can do that one day. But until then, I'm gonna keep doing this and keep encouraging you all to donate and help out in any way that you can, and supporting the content. Again, Song Theory mug here. I appreciate you guys and your support. The link is in the description below. And as well, Allure the Writer, his 7-song album is out on YouTube right now. That link is also below. And I thank you all so much for being engaged, a part of the community. And please send more messages, emails. Thank you all so much. I love you. Have a great day. Better tomorrow. God bless. I'll see you all later.